Let me tell you where the channel's headed. And then I want to tackle one of the hardest jobs in all of lawn care, which is getting grass to actually grow in a shady yard, because there's a right way to do that and a whole lot of wasted effort if you don't know the tricks. But first, you might want to know who I am before my camera falls down on me. I'm Connor. I'm the guy behind Pete's Lawn Secrets. I'm not the face of the channel. I'm the one behind the scenes, the editor, the organizer, the one quietly putting the whole thing together. And where the channel's headed right now is not into the ground like my tripod. We're just getting the channel off the ground, so there's more going on behind the scenes than you'd believe. I'm head down, building it all out, lining everything up, getting it ready for you. I'm just going to hold the tripod. There's a lot coming your way, and soon. So if you're one of the early ones here, before we've really gotten going, thank you. It means a lot to have you here at the start. But now the topic at hand, shade. Here's the hard truth we have to start with. Grass loves the sun. It's a sun-loving plant. That's just what it is. So a deeply shaded spot under thick trees is the single hardest place in your whole yard to grow grass. So the first thing you have to do is set expectations. Grass in shade is always going to be thinner than grass in the full sun. In a really dense, dark shaded area, no grass on earth is going to grow nice, thick, and lush for you. So once you've made peace with that, here's how to give your grass the best shot to grow in the shade. The goal here isn't a perfect putting green under your oak tree. That's never happening. The goal is the thickest, healthiest grass that a spot can realistically support. And there's a lot that you can do to push it in the right direction. First of all, you got to choose the right grass. This is huge. Some grasses tolerate shade for better than others. So you don't want just any old seed. You want a proper shade mix. It'll say shade tolerant right there in the bag. Those varieties are built to get by on less light. Using a sun-loving grass in the shade is a waste of both time and money. So match the seed to the spot. The shade-tolerant types tend to have like a finer, more delicate blade, and they grow a little slower and more sparsely than the sunny lawn, but that's exactly what lets them survive on less light. You don't want to expect them to look just like your sunny areas. Just expect them to actually live. Second of all, you let more light in if you possibly can. Often the shade is coming from trees, and you'd be amazed at how much you can improve things just by thinning out the lower branches of a tree and lifting the canopy a little bit so that more of the dappled light filters down to the grass below. You don't have to cut the tree down. Just open it up a little. Even a bit of more light makes a real difference to the grass that's been struggling. And here's something a lot of people don't think about. It's not just the shade from a tree that's the problem, it's the roots. A big tree is drinking up huge amounts of water and pulling nutrients out of the soil, and your grass is stuck trying to compete with it for whatever's left. That's a big part of why grass under trees is always thinner. It's quietly losing a battle for water and food down in the soil, not just for light up top. There's not a lot you can do about that beyond knowing it's happening and not being too hard on yourself when the patch never looks quite as lush as the rest. You're growing grass on that tree's turf, and that tree was there first. Third, and this one's counterintuitive, you want to mow your shady grass higher than the rest of your lawn. And here's why. The grass blade is what catches the light, and the shade is cutting out what precious little light there is to catch. So you want to leave as much leaf possible to soak up whatever light there is. You cut the shade grass short and you take away its ability to feed itself. Then it'll thin right out on you. So set the mower up high in those areas and leave it long. Fourth, go easy on the water and the feeding. Shady ground doesn't dry out the way a sunny ground does. So you need to water it less. If you overwater a shady spot, you'll just invite moss and disease and all that lingering damp. So same with feeding it. Shade grass grows slowly, so it doesn't want loads of fertilizer. A light hand is much better. Too much feed actually ends up weakening it. And keep an eye out for moss, because moss is the thing that moves in the moment the grass gives up. Moss loves exactly the conditions that grass hates. Shade, damp, compacted soil. So if you've got moss taking over, just scraping it out is only ever a temporary fix. You've got to deal with what's causing it. You got to get more light in, you got to improve the drainage, loosen any compacted soil. Otherwise, the moss will come right straight back every time. If the ground stays soggy and won't drain, that on its own will push the grass out and let the moss in. So sometimes the real fix is for a mossy shady patch is sorting out the drainage and the compaction underneath, not anything you do to the grass itself. Then one more honest thing here. So there's a point when it's just too shady, and the smart move is to stop fighting it. If you've tried all this and the grass still won't take in a really dark spot, don't keep pouring seed and effort into a battle you can't win. Switch to a shade-loving ground cover plant, or lay down a nice mulch bed, or put in some shade plants instead. Sometimes the best lawn decision is to not have lawn in that one spot at all, and honestly, it'll look far better than a patch of permanently struggling thin grass. So there's the rundown. Right seed, more light. Mow it high, go easy on the water and feed. Watch out for moss, and know when to switch to something else entirely. Do that, you'll get the best grass at the shady spot that you're ever going to get. And that's where the channel is headed, and that's the tip. So thank you for being here this early in the life of the channel. While we're getting going, it genuinely means a lot. There's loads more on the way, and I'm on it. So go give that shady patch a proper go, and I'll catch you in the next one.